Good
All
here.
right. Hey, guys. We are on live. Good evening. And welcome to, I don't know, the 21st, 22nd, way too many podcasts at this point. I'm Chris Pate, class of 87. My co-host is Steve Rodriguez, class of 86. I'm so glad to be back. I want to thank John Harville for sitting in for me 1 week. And for Missy Cabot, Melissa Charlene, this is Mr. Pate saying, hey, way to do your homework. Tonight we have with us, before I get to who we have with us, let's get a disclaimer because we're going to need it tonight. All right. You're going to hear a lot of tall tales, a lot of half truths, and a lot of lies, guys. It's coming right at you right now tonight. So be ready. We're, of course, not affiliated in any way officially with Bayshore Christian School. So everything that you hear tonight is solely the opinions of the host and the guest. So don't hold anything against Melly Vitaminski or anything there as well. Tonight we have with us two legends of Bayshore basketball, two brothers. The father was also a legend of Bayshore. Tonight we have with us Elijah Piazza from the class of 98 and Jared Piazza, class of 2002. Welcome, guys, to the show.
Pleasure.
Yay.
Very good. Be here, guys. What's going on?
Thanks for having us.
Hey, Chris, before we get started, we should give a report on the boys team winning district.
Yeah.
You want to give a report real quick before we get started?
Yeah, so the boys won their third district title in a row, despite what some of us thought was a lackluster regular season. But we'll go past that now and get on to the good stuff. Third district title in a row, led by CJ Cruz. He had 21 points in the district semifinal and 28 in the final. And the boys are set tomorrow to play in the next round of playoffs. Tomorrow night, what is it, 7 o'clock? So you can see on NFHS Network, and they're also selling tickets. The game is at Bayshore. So
nice.
You guys, if you're in this area, go out and see our guys play in the playoffs tomorrow.
Yeah, very good. And so it's great to see both Piazza brothers. It's a name that goes down in history at Bayshore, as Chris said. And I'm struck by Elijah. What is that behind you again? What's hanging behind you?
This is the plaque.
Oh, right.
I don't know if you guys can see it. That's my father, Mr. Piazza. That was
Yes.
a little saying. This was something that all the old school people remember. Chuck Brown from Brown's Trophies,
Sure.
completely provided, and made for. But that's an image of my father's face, and that's a little plaque, and it's kind of a memorabilia piece that my brother and I kind of passed back and forth, and I just thought it'd be nice to have him here because he's always kind of watching over us.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
that's what that is.
He was beloved by everyone at Bayshore. I mean, he was loved by everyone.
Oh, he loved his job. He loved what he did, and he was a unique person, which made it, even more special to a lot of students. He had the ability to like what he did and incorporate it with making you like it too. He was very good at explaining things, and that's what drew a lot of kids to him. And he was also very lenient. He was always willing to let you work for your grade. Hey, if you want to earn extra points, he let you work, do extra credit, do bonus points. He was always about riddles. Any of his students will tell you he always had a riddle every morning, and his morning riddle would earn you points for your test. And that's why any of the old school people that would watch us, they would know that, like you had those David Vanderwalt and a lot of other students would just sit there and just constantly pester him for these extra bonus questions, because if you answered a question in class, it could be worth 10 points on an exam. And you didn't find that anywhere, but my father did that because he had a passion, and he knew if he even taught you that one small thing, it led into something more. And that was something that made him unique, and that was unique in a lot of Bayshore teachers.
Yeah. Give me one of those riddles. Give us one of those riddles.
I'll give you a riddle. All right, here's one off a bat. Okay, what's this? Off the top of my head. Okay, here you go. This is, see that?
No, is it a square?
Where?
Okay.
Pate got it. It's a square.
Okay, what's that? You know what that
Circle.
means?
We're in a circle.
Square in a circle.
Around the block.
Oh,
Oh, very
All right.
good.
Same thing. Same thing. Like when you go,
I need another drink.
see what's that?
It looks like a bunch of two squares with a bunch of squiggly stuff in it.
Dots.
3 dots. One has 3 dots.
What do
One
those
has
dots
4.
look like?
Cheese.
Come on. Square.
Dice.
Okay. How many you got?
Two dice.
I can't see it.
Come
8
on,
dice.
folks.
8.
Paradise.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, very good.
Okay. So simply,
I
you guys
would not
didn't go to school when my dad was teaching these riddles that should be on top of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would not have passed
Would
your dad's
earn
class.
you 10 extra points.
Yeah, I would have
No,
failed.
that's the kind of stuff. Hey, I couldn't sit down and eat dinner without answering a riddle. I understand Einstein's theory of relativity better than most people, simply because that's what you did when you were waiting on dinner.
Yeah.
That
For sure.
the old man was favor about football. The old football when you folded up the old piece of
Yeah.
paper and you kicked it back and forth on the table.
Yep.
You tried that with your kid yet, Steve?
Well, when he was younger, yeah.
What does he do now? You
Well,
gotta fight that phone out of his hand.
One's in college, one's in high school.
Oh man, I can't imagine. I got one that's 8 going on 23, and I got a 5-year-old that's ready to whip my butt every morning.
That's great. Do you only have 2?
Yeah, one of each. I quit after that.
Oh man.
It doesn't get better than that, right?
Hey, we can't thank you enough for being here. I mean, we've got you. You had such a great career, 96 through 98 at a minimum. I can't remember if you played a little bit as a freshman. I want to turn to your brother real quick because we got some comments online. First, Mike Rudolph says, Mr. Piazza, y'all's father is one of the greatest men I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. I would not have graduated if it wasn't for him. So that's wonderful that Mike shares that with you guys. Thank you, Mike. And then here's another one, Jared. This is for you, and then we'll ask you your first question. John Blockard says, Jared, why are you wearing your sister's shirt?
Oh, don't hate. Don't hate, John. Don't hate.
So Jared, your brother graduates. I don't know what happened to his camera there, but your brother graduates in 98 with an outstanding career, but even a better post high school career as he played Division II and professionally, and we'll talk to him about that. But what was it like? We're going to get to your career when we get to the 2001 Final Four trip. Tell us a little bit what it was like growing up as the younger Piazza on campus. What was that like?
Well, I had a pretty much a path forged. People did expect more out of me watching Elijah play. It was sometimes we played different positions, so I didn't have to totally fill his shoes, if you will. But it was an honor. It was great to see the respect that he got on and off the court, and it kind of made things a little bit easier for me in some ways a little harder. But either way, I respected everything he did out there, and it made me proud.
So it's not a sibling rivalry; it's more of sibling love.
Yeah, absolutely. Respect.
No, without doubt.
We were playing basketball from the age when I was 5. We were playing out in the backyard. That was the guy I played against. I had to learn how to play against this Mongolian kind of guy, you know. It was tough. He was tough on me. Made me better.
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
because
should hear the
thankfully,
rules.
you
You
got a
used to
good
make up the
coach.
worst rules ever.
What rules? What do you mean?
You couldn't block me if I was out inside of a certain area. I mean, it was just domination. He had to give me 1 second or one dribble before he could come after me. I mean, again, I'm 6 years old, and I think he'd be 10 and a half, 11, in that range. So definitely a little bit of an advantage there. But it wasn't allowed to block me was the big one until we got older.
Oh, that's funny. Chris, you were about to say, I heard you saying something there. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to ask Jared. Hey, Jared, I understand that early in your career you had a really good coach that set set the foundation for your career later on. You want to tell us about that guy?
Absolutely. I attribute everything to that coach. I think his name was Christian. Great guy. Let us, we had great winning seasons. Just a great man. He, made us better by everything he did.
Oh,
Absolutely.
man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great to hear. Elijah, back to you. I mean, 96 through 98, to look at your sophomore year, that is a district championship team. It's mostly Fielder, Damon, John Blocker, some Polito. What was that team like as a sophomore? Did you play any on JV? Were you totally varsity? I don't remember. People think we remember this stuff. We make up most of it. Tell us about 96.
I didn't go to varsity till my sophomore year, which was
Right.
96. That was the year we had, everyone you're talking about. I didn't play very much. As a matter of fact, I had Volpe. Coach Dave Volpe was the coach of the JV that year.
Let me jump in. Volpe, I spoke to Coach David Volpe today for the first time in 20 plus years. Coach Volpe wanted me to ask you this question.
Yeah.
What did he tell you when you were on JV? He told the team in the locker room after you guys lost to Jesuit.
At Jesuit, he asked us to eat a big slice of humble pie.
And
right or wrong?
No, I'm asking you.
That it was humble pie. He goes, listen, boys. He goes, here's the situation. It ain't getting any better out there. This is when we all have a big slice of humble pie. And that is what he said, right?
Yeah. That's what he
That
said.
is the answer. That was humble pie. No, listen, David Volpe, if I could have put that guy in my pocket, I'd have probably played in the NBA. That guy had enough. He had such a way of thinking about him. He was one of my first intros into the sport, and he was such an enthusiastic part of my impression of coaching. I love the way Mr. Volpe carried himself. And I knew him as a man too. Mr. Volpe, there was no secret about it. In the summers, my father was there. We were there all summer. He was the dean of students during the year, but he was out there painting and working as a maintenance person throughout the summer. And that's what a lot of people did to make ends meet. I can't tell you how many times Mr. Bush, who, God rest his soul, was a Vietnam vet, and he fired me about 4 times. He did it about every summer, but there was, a lot of people like that. Mr. Volpe, to me, I would say was my number one coaching experience from Bayshore. Somebody that was just really, he was all about the books. That guy watched Pistol Pete Maravich videos and then lived it. And that's
Coach Volpe was a very good man and such a great representative of the school. He happened to be the athletic director over a 12 plus year period in which he was the AD when Valdez was there, Sam was there, then Drury, and then Dibble, and of course closing out with Kagi in the early 2000s. So he spent a lot of time at Bayshore, and he is just as representative of Bayshore Christian as all of us. So that's great to hear. Yeah, he was such a good man. Such a good man. Hopefully we'll be able to
let's get back to that 96, 97 team.
Yeah, please.
We had some of the best experiences I had also was as a teammate. One of the good better guys I had was your main man, Todd Brandenburg. He and I had a lot of good battles together. Me and that guy. It was weird. When he first showed up to Bayshore, he was kind of he was distant. He didn't know what he was getting into. And immediately there was no way I was giving up my ground to a new guy. He just showed up. He was ready to go to war, and I was ready to fight for my land. And we did just that. We did it so much so, which a lot of people don't know. We used to get in. A lot of people knew we used to get into the Bayshore gym, and there's stories. He and I used to play one-on-one. We used to literally, and I'm not exaggerating, we'd get in all out fights. But you know what happens when two 17-year-old boys duke it out in the gymnasium at 1 a.m. when no one's there to break it up? You start figuring things out.
Right.
And me and him used to play one-on-one and not even keep score. And I'm not joking with you. We if I'd have had another year with a guy like that, you know, because he broke his arm, and he and I played. He was very competitive, and he believed in me a lot more. But when he was down, he was that teammate. You guys, prop him up a lot for a lot of what he did physically, but he was there for part of. He was there telling me, "Hey, Piazza, you could do this. Piazza, you can out rebound that guy. Piazza, you could do this." And he was that guy. He was sitting there with his arm broke, but he was sitting there, telling you that. And he was another guy that, I remember I sent you that text. He walked on at Flagler. Or no.
Yeah, Flagler, yeah.
Flagler, yeah. And he walked on over there. But then as soon as the coach wanted to sign me, he's like, "Hey, you're going to pay for me to go to school?" And coach was like, "No." And so I was like, "Well, I'm not going to do it." And clearly Todd could have probably started or been in their top 7 or 8 in their rotation, and the coach wouldn't give him a scholarship, and he was there on business. Todd wanted to get his degree and move along, and if they're not going to pay for you to go to school, that's why I believe there's a firm difference between a guy that got a scholarship and a guy that didn't. And he went there and earned one.
What you say about Brandenburg is so true. Todd, we will have on as a future guest, and he would go on to serve with Nike. He would serve with Adidas. He played overseas in China, and now he runs a basketball operation in California. So he's had a lot of basketball success. But all your stories right there are exactly true and great to hear, because Chris and I only know him as the hardcore, kill everybody, dunk on everybody, punch you in the mouth type guy. And you're giving us, hey man, on the sideline, he's not just doing the physical stuff. He's also there with you mentally, encouraging, supporting as a teammate.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I got some more Facebook stuff for you guys.
Never do a beer run with the guy.
Understood. Freddie Tomasello says, Freddie Tomasello on Facebook says, "I got to spend time with the Piazza brothers at Beef O'Brady's. Great people. I wish I could have seen them play." Jared, we'll turn back to you. So we're going to come back and talk with Elijah. He gave us a little bit about 96, just got into 96, 97. That's a big season we want to talk about. Were you around? So you lived in your brother's footsteps till it became your team, your school, your time. What was it like during the season being around your brother on those 96 and 97 teams? Was it basketball 24/7? Did he have other interests? Tell us about the personal Elijah Piazza.
During the season, Elijah was eat, sleep, drink basketball. That was during the season. And during the off season, it's pretty much all we did. We didn't take too many, vacation trips, or we didn't have really access to that. So we'd find a basketball and we'd go find a hoop
challenge
and play.
anybody to say that they spent more time in that gym. If you and me combined, I don't think there ain't two people that spent more time in that gym within the year period that we were there.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I agree with that. I've shut that place down more times than I can count.
I slept in the Lost and Found more than I did the Holiday Inn on a regular. That's a true story.
We would even after we'd get home, Elijah would sit there with a basketball, lay on his back, and just sit there. I mean, for hours. And it almost kind of drove me crazy because we shared a room, and he'd sit there and just, he slept with a basketball. That's what he did. It was an encouraging thing to see this guy love the sport so much.
Right. Hey, before I go back to Elijah, Chris, what is that on your couch? Is that Lunchables?
Yeah, that's my dinner. I have
Why don't you show the audience your dinner?
I have 2 Lunchables. So
Oreo one.
Yeah, I'm living in the Hyatt Regency, and they don't even have a freaking microwave in here for a freaking 4-star hotel. So I'm eating Lunchables and gonna wash my whiskey down with some orange Gatorade.
Nice.
But
hydrate.
Yeah, I'm ready though. I'm ready for this show for sure, man. I'm ready for entertainment.
Well, it's already been entertaining.
About it.
So you're sitting in a hotel room all by your lonesome with 2 Lunchables and a Gatorade?
Well, I mean, my kitten's here, my cat.
Oh, that's
You,
good.
you know all about, right?
What's that song? The cat came back the very next
right.
day. The farmer threw it in the river, but the cat came back. I don't know. It's some kind of kid song. My kid was I could download it for you later, but what?
Guys, Facebook, Nikki Ramos says, Elijah, John just said that. So what we were just talking about right there, I think she was referring to. Rihanna Schwartz says, thinking the same thing about Chris's dinner there. That's a man's dinner, Lunchable, and whiskey.
Well, let me tell Nikki, I love you. And John was the best. That guy, John Ramos, his young brother Josh, and his father, Petey. That guy, I don't know if anybody knows it, that guy was there on the weekends. He was another one of those guys. He did what it took. That was a hard-working man who did what it took. And even though he couldn't come up with the bill to send his kids to school, he was there on the weekends making up for it. And he had those 2 boys. There was the law, and there was Petey's way. And if you I have nothing but respect for that man. But John used to be fun to sit on the bench with, because he was the most. No matter what you did, you could have just dunked on somebody. You'd come back, sit down, sit next to John, and he would just be like, "Really? I could have done that." And I'd be like, or he would just be like, "You could have done that quicker." Or he was just the. I used to really enjoy John. He was one of my favorite guys in practice that you would deal with. He was you guys ever remember the story my freshman year with Scott Crone?
No, but you're going to share it. Go ahead.
Oh, without a doubt. Okay. Let me start from the beginning.
Oh, wait. More Facebook. Nikki Ramos says she was talking about being at the gym constantly and you sleeping in Lost and Found. So apparently Ramos is watching and he just pointed that out. And then she says you're still the exact same way, or maybe that's John. So, oh yeah, it is. He is still the same way. So that's about John. So tell us the story. You, Scott Crone. What happened?
This was my freshman year. It was JV used to practice with varsity, and we were at the end of the varsity guys would shoot free throws, and the JV guys would start running their suicides, and then they'd get out of there, and then the varsity guys would run their suicides afterwards. Remember all that?
Yep.
So anyway, the varsity guys are shooting free throws. We're running suicides. And I'm a freshman, and I'm running, and the guys are kidding me. They're making fun of me because of the way my feet are kicking. They're like, you're running like an ostrich, and I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, your feet are running weird. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, the next time running down the field, we're doing, you do the suicide, then you did the sprint. So right. We did the suicide, and when we ran into the sprint, I ran full speed, and I'm looking down at my feet, and I'm looking down, and just at that moment, I'm running full speed. I'm looking at my feet, and I blow through Scott Crone like a wet paper bag. He's standing at the free throw line, shooting a free throw. He has no idea, 190 pounds of dumb is running behind him. I blow right through him. And it wasn't until I hit him and I look up, he rolls over, and he doesn't believe for a second that was an accident. He gets up, he's ready to kill me. I remember turning around, running. I ran through 2 or 3 guys.
What year was
I ran
Crone?
Straight toward Coach Sam.
What year was Crone?
A senior.
Okay.
I'm a freshman.
I'm
a freshman on JV. He's a senior on varsity. And but he had no man would have been able to take that. He was shooting a free throw, And all of a sudden, I just walked into him looking at the ground. Anyway, he gets up with fire in his eye. He's ready to just end my existence. I do what I know to do best. I just start running, right? I start running. First person I run to is Coach Sam. And it was like a moment in silence, like frozen. It was like I looked at Coach Sam, he looked at me, and he let me know immediately, I'm not helping you. I just saw you tackle that man. I'm not getting in the way. And it was like I never seen the man move so fast. I ran up the bleachers. I ran around. I remember Jed Kirby was on the court. A lot, and again, all the varsity guys had no idea what just happened. As far as they knew, some dumb butt just tackled someone for no reason. And as soon as I finally ran and I fell to the fetal position, Volpe jumped in front of me and he jumped in because he was there and he heard he was the one that grabbed Scott Crone and saved my life. Because Scott Crone was getting ready to stomp a mud hole in my chest. but it was real, yeah. I was trying not to. I was looking down, running, and I just hit. And of course I hit. And anybody would ask you, he was one of the bigger guys on the team that year.
Did you ever like explain it to him that it was an accident?
I did. Like years later, and I ran into him in a restaurant one night. We were eating, and he still kind of smirked at me. It was like, if that's what you say. And
so you didn't think to apologize while you were still in school. You apologized a decade and a half later.
No, he didn't. Yeah, well, he didn't believe me even in school. Like literally, Volpe was the only person that heard them making fun of me. And knew what I was doing. I'm running full speed ahead, looking at my toes. Yeah, that was
online. Misty Cabot says, "What a great story, classic," and that's so true. And you have so many. We've got a broken backboard. We're going to talk about after Bayshore. For the people watching, make sure we're following. We do these podcasts. We're on episode 21. This episode is covering 96 to 98 with Elijah Piazza, and of course his brother Jared. The Piazza brothers had a Final Four in 2001 and played 3 years in varsity as well. So we've covered a lot of early 90s in previous episodes. We're now mid to late 90s. You've talked a lot about Brandenburg. You've talked somewhat about the Scott Crone story. Talk a little bit about some of your other teammates, and then tell us about 96, 97. That your junior year was probably one of the great Bayshore teams of all time that did not get a chance to go to the Final Four. That was one of the best. So tell us a little bit about that.
You want me to tell you what I thought? We're trying to be positive right here.
Yes. Do we have a 5-second delay?
Well, listen,
Hey, get the 5-second delay.
We had a nucleus for a great team. We had a lot of distractions. There were a lot of what ifs. Ultimately, the guys that were on that team, you're talking Hugh Thomas, Damon Allen, Polito, guys that were, contributors. We had Fitzpatrick was younger. But we had other guys that were just good players. I think. What?
Adam Latanzi.
We had Adam Latanzi. He was a great point guard for us.
Brandenburg.
Listen, the 96-97 team was a very well average team. We just weren't. I don't think we knew what we had when we had it, as far as, because you got to remember that team just kind of fell together. Every other team in the Valdez era kind of came together, and it was kind of, you brought in guys and guys were coming in behind others, and it was kind of like a program. That team of all teams just kind of none of those guys were brought in. Brandenburg wasn't brought in. I was homegrown.
Why do you say this is a very good, very important point you're making. I'm interested in it because everybody has a different opinion. Why do you say not homegrown? Because Brandenburg was new and Thomas had been there a year, but he didn't go to Bayshore like all the way since elementary. Tell us why you think that, because a lot of us, including Sam, and certainly I think that was one of the best Bayshore teams of all time. It just didn't go to the Final Four, but it was one of the best teams we ever had. Why do you think it was just fell together? Tell us more.
Well, I think it fell together. I mean, those guys weren't brought there to play. I wasn't. I mean, I was part of that team. I wasn't brought there to play basketball. I just happened to be at Bayshore and be part of the program. None of those guys, were brought there for that, and it kind of came together. I mean, when you look at the Valdez era, and his last run for a team to win it, you had 6'7" Toby show up from Europe, foreign exchange student ready to play. Tree showed up. You got 6'8", 6'9" center show up. You got John senior year. All of a sudden, you got all these guys show up just to play ball, and then that era kind of ended. The guys just showing up to play kind of ended, and then there was a drought, and then there was the new oncoming of players. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
No, but keep going.
No.
I see what you're saying. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there was a whole new genre of players. I mean, once Valdez's era ended, there was a whole new, once Miss Brooks took over, and
I agree.
and Melanie took over, you had a whole new era, and it was an era to be proud of with 3 titles. And,
you had
higher GPAs to anybody to boot previous. I mean, anybody that went.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I do agree it was a different era. I think that some teams had good GPAs, some teams did not. I think that the Sam era produced kids that had gone there. Damon had gone there a while, Polito since elementary, Blocker since elementary. So there was a lot of kids who had gone there. I think you are correct to say that it was unique in that Brandenburg showed up, Thomas showed up, and that joined a nucleus of Damon, Polito, Latanzi, yourself, Josh Nunley, Ramos, that made a very good basketball team. Who did I miss, Chris? Who else? Or Jared? Did I miss somebody?
Fitz.
Yeah,
Fitzpatrick. Oh yeah, you can't forget Fitzmagic, can you?
Yeah.
There was another guy I want to say, Joe Nania. So sorry, Joe, if you're watching. I didn't mean to mispronounce it. So 96, 97. What about your relationship with Fitzpatrick? Didn't y'all stay close after high school?
Oh, without a doubt. He and I actually played college together. I went on after I left in 98. I went to play at Florida College, and then he followed, came right behind, and he was able to, my sophomore year, he played as a freshman, and he came in, walked on, and man, that was a blessing. Just be able to have a guy. He was a hard worker in high school. I loved playing with him. It breaks my heart that the whole Fitzpatrick files, there ain't one video of me even. I mean, they got video of Joel Cancel scoring in Foursquare and Kristen Sanders making a layup in 1997, but I don't have one video.
Yeah, I know. It's mostly 98, 99,
Well,
I think.
Also Fitzpatrick, his family, when I came back, when I was overseas for a while, and when I came back and I was looking for a place to live, I ended up living with Chris, and his mother opened their home to me, and that was a major help to me. Living with them was a blessing beyond, helped me finish and get myself together.
Quick little note I'm thinking of, and I might be wrong. I think Fitzpatrick's the only player that I played on the same team that you played on the same team. I got brought up my freshman year. I think that's, I don't think there's anyone else. I think he was the only one. I got brought up at the end, and I remember I was shaking like a leaf. It was at a district, it was postseason, and I got to play. They
Yeah,
put
yeah,
me
yeah.
in, and Chris is like, dude, you gotta calm down, man. You gotta calm down.
You're in
And I
one of the
remember-
videos.
Huh?
You're in one of the You're in one of the Fitzpatrick videos that we posted online.
Yep.
Dibble loved you. Dibble loved your game.
I love
So
Dibble.
that's really good. Hey, Nikki Ramos also said we forgot to mention, I want to say it was Calvin Cummings. She says Bishop. So is that Bishop Cummings?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Calvin.
Yeah. Who else did we miss? We want to make sure we name everybody off that team. Did we miss anyone? 97. We're gonna get to 98 in a minute. I think we got everybody. If anybody remembers, please let us know. Nick Ballingy says, real nice, good to see you guys. So we covered 96, 97. I'm surprised, Elijah, so I'll ask you one more time before we go to Jared. Tell us about that season. The season ends in a double overtime loss to the eventual state champion. It seems to me that would at least have some memory in your neurons firing there. Tell us about that game.
It's probably the reason why I drink. I don't know.
I remember a lot of crying
You want me
players
to
after
point
that game.
fingers? Where,
Yeah.
I don't know where.
No, I mean, you can point a finger if you want. I thought it was one of the great games. There was lots of disappointing circumstances like the missed free throws. They were the eventual state champions. So there's a lot to talk about there. Yeah, Chris, you take over because my fire alarm's going off again.
Well, I just remember that game ended in kind of a catastrophe. I think we were up by about 5 with about a minute and a half left to play, and they ended up tying it up. We had the ball at one point, and Hugh Thomas had a huge turnover that kind of swung it the other way, and they were able to tie it up at the end of the regulation. But anyway.
Yeah. Where did
So
everybody
Jared-
go? Just us. No.
But
Where did Elijah go?
No. You brought it's a sore subject. You shouldn't have brought that up, man. I tell you,
The heck is going on?
I don't know. That might have been it. Well,
Chris, were you telling us about the 97 game? Tell us more about the 97 game.
me?
No, I said Pate.
what? I did already. You were gone.
Oh, I missed it. Yeah.
The Hugh Thomas turnover. But one thing I want to mention is that Jared and Elijah have one unique feature in common, and that's the size of their hands. And I just want to
Hold those
verify
hands up.
that is indeed a genetic trait. Fred Piazza, who was a great man, and I'm so privileged to be a friend of his and to have known him and taught with him, was one of the strongest guys I ever knew. And he had gigantic hands as well. So I just know for a fact that's a genetic Piazza trait.
Yeah.
People don't, I mean, some people may not know, but he was actually like ranked in the nation in arm wrestling.
He was 7-time Florida arm wrestling state champion. He was 3rd in the nation. That was like a year before he passed away. That's
Wow.
crazy how fast it just diminished.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He was always trying to get the arm wrestling so he could tear my arm off. But
Yep, I'm sure me and Lige will both have elbow damage when we're older from that. I was arm wrestling at the age of 5 with them, and just yeah. The Pops loved working out. He loved keeping his mind sharp. And he loved what he did at Bayshore, and really did. There he is.
Okay.
I'm glad you
moving to
returned.
98.
You know what could have been? I mean,
Yes.
all right, you want to talk about that 96, 97 season. Do you know what players that you were there, Steve? You remember we could have, there was a possibility we could have had a Chris Christie.
Oh, he was there for 6 games, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yep. You were there. And then we also had a chance at 3 of the Graham brothers. Remember the 2 twins that went to the NBA?
Yeah, no, I thought that was
Yeah.
after that season. I thought that was 97,
Yeah.
98. That was 97.
That was the summer of 97 to 98.
Right. The only one that was in there that you're referring to, and it's a good call, is Chris Christie. He could have really helped.
Well, listen to my
Yeah.
point. Listen to my point. The point was the three brothers that, the two that went to the NBA and, the other, they would have all went there had it not been for what went on at that final game.
Okay, what went on in that final game? Because I thought everybody played their butts off. See, I don't remember.
You get it. You either got to get it out or leave it out.
Oh man, that was.
I am
that
an old
was-
man.
I mean, you watched the video. That was.
No, there is no video. There is no video. I did not watch the video. I saw it live, and that's it. And I got the newspaper article. Tell us what happened that makes you feel that way. Why would the Graham not attend?
We went into the first time out with less than a minute ago. We went into it. We didn't even have any idea what was even going on. We didn't have a foul count. We didn't have a timeout count. We walked into it unprepared. The first time out we called, we set up an inbounds play coming in from the far from the 3/4 court, and we were actually coming in at half court, so we didn't even have the right inbound play. Then we ended up throwing the ball away, and come on. Why are you gonna make me bring all that up like I'm the only guy who remembers that?
I don't remember it. I remember a turnover on an inbounds. I remember
Yeah, the only reason, we turned it over because the whole inbound play that we called for a timeout was set something different.
No. I'm referring to that there was a turnover in a live ball situation without a timeout with under 5 seconds, and we were up 2. We threw it right to them. They laid it in. I don't know if that was regulation or the first overtime, but that was. What's that?
Hugh Thomas inbounded it, threw it in. A guy stole it in at layup.
Right. And so if you talk about that, if you talk about the missed free throws, I mean, we missed 25, 26 free throws. We had a missed free throw where we got the rebound, could have dribbled it out and didn't. So lots of things, but I don't remember a timeout play call that had that much of an impact on the game. It all seemed to have an impact in the game. But listen, I wasn't playing, man. That was your game. So I understand how it feels when those games go south, believe me.
That game my junior year was hard to get out of my mouth. That was a long one. That was a hard one, and I felt like we didn't get we weren't prepared for that one. I know we played our butts off, but we could have went in there. We could have won that one. But anyway, come on, change subject. That was getting all that we're slowly catching through the muck here. Come on.
This is a very good subject because it shows 23 years later that all of that, we say it on every episode, Bayshore matters. Bayshore Christian basketball matters. That gym was full. The crowd was crazy. You guys gave everything you had. You lost to the eventual state champion, and it was almost a passing of the torch because we had dominated basketball for over a decade, almost 2 decades, and then Miami Northwest Christian would win 4 or 5 state titles in 8 years. So it was a monumental game in the history of Tampa, and you were 2 points away. So it's easy, as you know, better than me, because you played a much longer career and a great career. It's easy to remember all the little things that we could have done differently. I'd prefer looking back to say you guys gave everything and a few things that got far away. So we do want to get to 98 in your post Bayshore career. And before we do that, Chris, did you just say something?
No,
Cleared his throat like he had something to
97,
say.
98 for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna get to 98. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jared, before we get back to Elijah, you were shaking your head. Yes. What was your thoughts about that final last hurrah in 97?
It's funny because you brought it up. I remember the missed shot, and I don't remember who grabbed the rebound, but I think they threw it right back up, as opposed if they just dribbled it out. I think it's game over.
Yeah.
And just there was a lack of everybody being on the same page. That just, hey, just basketball awareness at that time. I remember feeling it just as bad as everybody else, just sitting there and knowing that we were that close. 3, 4, 5 dribbles out of the key, and you're moving on. And so that's rough. It's hard to watch that.
To me though, Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Which to me, that was so uncharacteristic of that team, because I really
Right.
felt that team had 5 or 6 players that were really
Right.
basketball savvy. I mean, Damon Allen, Drew Polito, Todd Brandenburg, Elijah Piazza, Adam Latanzi. All those guys knew how to play the game. It was definitely a peculiar situation for sure. I think you're absolutely right, though. I mean, at that point in time, they just kind of fell into a brain lapse or whatever, what have you.
Yeah.
It was definitely, and it wasn't just not only that particular play. It was kind of a sequence of events.
Yeah, it was a domino effect, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they really got unnerved.
You guys are all exactly right. I still look at it as, if you look back, like you said, all those things form a domino effect. But the one thing we could have controlled was free throw shooting. You don't need a timeout for that. You don't need anything. It's you and the rim, and we just didn't deliver. But Chris said, and Jared said, we all said there were so many things that could have been done differently. But it was one of the greatest games played in Tampa history, and those guys deserve credit for the way they fought that game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Elijah, we're going to
get take away from the season. I mean, you can't take away from the season. You can't take away from the individual achievements. I think 2 or 3 guys on the team ended up in the 1,000-point club. I know Damon Allen did. I think Drew Polito did.
Right.
Elijah did. So yeah, I mean, you're talking about a team that ended up having 3 career 1,000-point scorers. So yeah, it's really phenomenal talent. And I thought it was a great season, and I was happy to be there and enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
But then 97, 98 came along. All
so
those
now
guys
we go to the senior year.
The Elijah Piazza's team.
That's exactly right. So Piazza, everybody's graduated. It's you, Latanzi. I think you got Fitzpatrick. We're in 97, 98, your senior year. And Bayshore has gone through, it's the Empire decades. And you have the Emperor himself, Coach Valdez. Then you have Coach Sam, district titles, college signees, multiple Final Fours. For your senior year, Coach Sam is no longer there, and it's Mike Drury who takes over. Tell us about your relationship with your coach. Tell us about some of those teammates. I don't remember all of those guys. And then we'll get towards the end of the year and what happened with our district title. So tell us a little bit about that season, your senior year, what it was like. Oh, we lost him. He muted himself.
You're muted.
Hold on.
Yeah. You there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So rewind. Now, I followed a bunch of signees.
No, tell us about your 97, 98 teammates, like Fitzpatrick.
But Steve's laughing. He knows what I'm saying. There, no one signed a scholarship, and Sam's there.
Elijah, let me interrupt. If you were listening, I was referring to the era, and yes, Bayshore, of course, had over a dozen, if not more, college signees, including multiple Division I's prior to 1998. But yes, I wasn't referring to 1997, just 1998. So please share it with us. I think he muted himself again.
Oh, man. Can't hear you.
That's what I'm. Talk.
Dude.
I can hear you now. We're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can hear you.
I just finished answering your question. And
We didn't hear it.
We didn't hear anything.
Listen, the team I played with my senior year, I mean, they were a bunch of great guys. I got to play with a lot of good people. As far as basketball is concerned, most of them couldn't play dead in a Western, but for the most part, they were good people. You laugh. No, we weren't. But I had a very talented graduating class. Like, I mean, there were guys like, Seth Beauchamp, who that guy was injured all the time, but that guy forgot more basketball than most kids knew. He was one of the best.
Seth. Yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah, Seth. I remember playing a game with him one time where there wasn't even a timeout called. His shoulder came out of place. He comes walking over there. Steve Blitman, God bless his soul, that man. Yeah, he popped it back in. Coach Drury's like, oh, he goes, we're doing this play. It's going to be an inbound lob play to you. And then Steph's like, you still want me to make that pass? I'm like, sure. And he was, and I played with, guys like Derek Walmack. I mean, he wasn't a basketball player, but he's a performer now. I mean, he performs at like Busch Gardens and all over the world. That guy's you should look, you should get into his page.
That whole family has more
wonderful
talent.
family. Wonderful family.
super talent. Erica went and played UT when I went behind me. She went and played volleyball over there. Super talented family, blessed family, great family. And just for us to be able to have them sing our Super Bowls.
Oh,
Go Bucks.
the national anthem.
Our national anthems. But no, I mean, my 98 team, it was frustrating. We didn't have a lot of guys that were dedicated because it was pretty much the end of the Valdez era, kind of came to nothing. There was no guys there brought there to play. The guys that were there were just the ones that remembered, the spirit of playing. And then it was a whole new regime. It was a regime that brought on, with Miss Brooks and Miss Humanansky. I remember when she was just starting out as the volleyball coach. And she had a certain, she let all the basketball players know up front, this is my gym, this is what we're doing. And then within short order, she had state titles. And that's why, I pay homage to her because that's what I witnessed. How you say, Valdez to you, you pay homage to him because he is a great root to the school. Well, that's the way I see Melanie in the same way. And it's great that they come from the same family because their family is just deeply embedded in the enrichment of Bayshore. And I watched, the end of Herman and Coach Valdez doing his thing. And there was nothing better than that, Jared. You remember that? We used to go to those games when we were kids. Our dad started there in the early 90s. It was like watching an NBA team. It was like, it was something special, going to a spaghetti dinner.
Yeah.
Everybody sold their tickets. The morning was good. You had Mr. Maniscalco. Remember Mr. Maniscalco? Mr. Maniscalco?
Yeah, absolutely.
Emily Maniscalco.
Emily.
Remember any of those, Steve?
No, I mean, I remember
the Maniscalco family. Remember the Lathrop family?
Yes.
The Lathrops would be in there and they'd be in there making that dinner. And we'd all have it'd be a function and it'd be something to be part of, like the Joy property. Remember they used to open that thing up and do the Christmas like drive-throughs. And you got Miss Missy Cabot on here all the time. Her father used to carry that cross through the streets of Tampa for miles. And they used to do that whole setup. I don't know why they don't do it anymore. It's not my business, but there's a lot of Bayshore tradition. When I first began to come to Bayshore, I'm rewinding back in the early 90s. I used to, we had movie stars at Bayshore. You know that back in the early 90s?
Who was that?
Her name was Amanda Walker. She was in the Ernest P. World Saves Christmas. Did you know that?
No.
True story. She went to Bayshore Christian. I knew that before I knew Herman Valdez. But then when I got there, I realized he was the real star. But no, there was a beautiful history at Bayshore, between am I doing too much talking?
No, please. No, please.
No, I mean, there's that beautiful, the getting whistled at from Gigi Erickson across the red top. You didn't go to Bayshore till you got whistled at from across the red top from Gigi. And I love that woman. She's been there a long time, and she's just part of what Bayshore is. And there's a lot of things, especially when you consider Bayshore teachers. Don't trick yourself. Those people, Jared knows, our father, any teacher, that they weren't in it for the money. They were in it for the enrichment, and they enjoyed what they did. And just like any of the coaches, that's why I don't want to sit here and talk bad about any coach that was there. It was different regimes, different times. But at the end of the day, Bayshore produced a lot of good people, a lot of good stats. I mean, after I left Bayshore, I know that the regime that Miss Brooks and Melanie produced, was one of winning state titles and having high GPAs. I had somebody come talk to me one time like, oh, we're thinking about this girl from, Bayshore. She went to school here. We want to give her a volleyball scholarship at UT. And I was like, well, she's a good player. Like, we're not even worried about her grades, because she went to Bayshore. And that's what we're really part of, man. And I was really, y'all are all looking at me like I'm just doing all this talking. So let me learn time out before I start talking about Mr. Jury, because he was a great coach.
That's actually the best. That's been the best part of the show. That was the best part of the show right there. So, thank you for sharing it. But we do want to turn to 98 Coach Drury district title. And I need to know, I think we all need to know what happened. We've won we won the district title 2 years in a row, 6 of the previous 8. It seems like a foregone conclusion because we have Elijah Piazza, who's one of the most dominant players in all of Tampa.
The case of the promised land.
Yes, but you show up at halftime. Do you want to share today what happened?
All right. I was at Seth Beauchamp's house.
So is it his fault?
The night before the game, and I hope to God somehow he's watching this. But the night before the game, I spent the night at his house. And for some reason, the entire subdivision's power got shut off.
Okay.
There was
Are
no
we sure
electricity.
that this is like the true story that we're getting?
This is the true story.
I'd
There's
rather
no
you just say, no, I don't want to share.
No. Listen to the story. I'll incorporate a lot of people here. Here's what happened. There's no power. There's no phone line. I decided to go to the convenience store.
They had
up
cell
the
phones
street.
by 1998, didn't they?
I called Tom Sanders. I called him on his cell phone and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm over here. The power is out. I don't even know where I'm at." Because Seth said, "Stay here. My mom and dad are coming back. Just stay here." I said, "No, whatever." I put my jersey on. I actually walked to the gas station. I'm this is not a story. You need Seth on here. Because it's all him. I ended up hitchhiking. I hitchhiked a ride from a woman named Wendy at a gas station in my jersey. I was in my Bayshore jersey because when I asked her, I said, "Ma'am," I was like, "I'm trying to get to a game." She goes, "I can tell that." I was like, and she drove me to the Seminole game. I got dropped off there by a woman named Wendy. And I barely got there before halftime. Seth didn't show up till later. And my father was completely upset with me because he thought I should never spend a night at someone else's house. It was a distraction. I should have never done it in the first place. But he was my teammate. He was a senior. I blame Seth Beauchamp.
Okay. If Seth Beauchamp is watching, I want him to chime in on Facebook right now. I don't know. We don't know.
I blame Seth Beauchamp hands down for that game.
I'll message
and then all
him.
of a sudden they fouled the bejeebas out of me. I still ended up with 30 something points.
Yeah, but but Elijah, wasn't there a foul that you committed in which you struck Baker Mayfield, whatever the heck his name is?
Okay, Baker May. I allegedly disagreed with his comment.
What was his comment?
I missed the front end of a 1-and-1, and he walked up to me and he goes, "I bet you thought you were going to make that." And he was right next to me, and I did this. He was like right here.
A little twitch.
He goes, "I bet you thought you were going to make that."
I remember that.
I was like,
That's your face.
and as soon as he did that,
You could get.
That's a pretty
Didn't miss that time.
I mean, of all the talk on a court, that's pretty lame from Mayfield, Baker, whatever the name is.
all I did was nudge him off, and he flopped like a fish.
I do remember that. I do remember that.
I will attest to that.
I didn't mind playing physical, but I really didn't. I didn't hit that dude.
Somewhere that guy's got a Dark Web Academy Award for acting because that guy flopped like a fish in the syrup.
Hey, just
Oh
so
my
you
God.
know, Pate was the only guy that gave me love after that game. Everyone hated me after
Well,
that
he's sort of
game.
like
Pate's the only
that.
guy that gave me a hug.
He's sort of like that. He's like that.
Yeah.
He's loving. He's loving.
I like the lovable loser guy.
That was rough. That was a
So
rough
you had to
loss.
sit out the next game, huh? So you had to sit out the next game, and then we ended up losing in the playoffs.
Who was the
Yeah,
next?
that was the end of all that. Yeah, it was a frustrating year. That was
So instead of
my
another Final
my
Four,
favorite game though was beating King at home by 1 point.
Very good. Very good. What was that team's final record? Do you remember your senior year record?
I've been trying to forget that for
Okay.
I don't know.
Jared, when Elijah
7.
something like yeah. Elijah or Jared, when Elijah was a senior, what year were you? 8th grade?
I was in 8th grade. I was top dog at our junior high team.
And
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, we were rocking it.
Who was on that junior high team? Give us some names.
My 8th grade year. So Kyle Connect, Amari Newell. Oh geez. I'm trying to think because everybody, my 8th grade. Oh geez, I just remember how great the coach was.
Who was the coach? Who was the coach? Oh, it was Pate. It was
yeah,
Pate.
it was Pate. We didn't lose very much. I think we had like 23-4 or something. So I don't remember the exact. We had a pretty good season.
Very much. Well, it's like those 2 years. So they didn't lose hardly any.
Didn't Pate
We
make
did lose some spitballs though. You remember the spitballs?
Yeah.
I remember, actually, I remember putting donut powder in your hair on the way to an away game, and you didn't notice. It was a box of the white powder donut, and I put it in your hair. We went all the way out of the bus into the locker room, and you're sitting there, and you're getting, you got jazzed up before the game, and he went like that, and all this white powder went everywhere. Everybody died laughing. You wound up sitting me the whole first half for that, and I even owned up to it. And everybody, well, I owned up to it. Everybody, ratted me out immediately, and you got so mad. You sat me the half. That was Bradenton Christian, I believe it was, and I sat that whole half. I couldn't believe you actually sat me for it. I mean, it was a you weren't having it.
Tough. It was hard. It probably hurt me more than it hurt you.
Yeah, we barely won that game. Anyways, good times. Good story, but
Lessons
yeah,
learned,
we did a great run.
But now, do you remember when was it Josh Ramos?
At
You guys had all the
Wendy's.
spitballs? Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, we got out of the bus. You made us run.
Story.
Yeah, that was we want to geez. We were animals. I don't know how you put up with us. We were animals. Josh Ramos was the ringleader, and Nick Ballingy and all. Oh man, I mean that was a squad. That was a squad.
When we got back and I made you guys do all that running, and all the parents were so mad because they were waiting for you guys to get done running.
Yep, I remember. We deserved it. We got away with a lot, but you caught us on a lot too. You got us pretty good.
We're here with the Piazza brothers, Elijah and Jared. We're going to go back to Elijah to pretty much wrap up. We'll let if Chris has got other questions and let Jared have his final word as well. But Elijah, so 96 through 98 produces 2 district titles, a regional final that was one of the greatest games ever played. Your senior season could have been more for the team, but certainly was successful for you in terms of the stats and the accomplishment and the recognition. And what I want to know before we wrap up is tell us a little bit about your post high school career. We have Florida College, University of Tampa, and then professional. Tell us a little bit about that part of your history.
Just starting from 98.
Yeah, after graduation. I mean, feel free to share whatever you want. I mean, share.
Well, no, I mean, I was with, Coach Mike Jury, great man. And when I think back on it and I think about how young he actually was when he was actually mentoring me, and the more I think better about the guy. He's on fire for the Lord. He does the right thing. He did nothing at that time he pretty much got a dynasty dumped in his lap, you know what I mean? All of a sudden he became the head coach. It was my senior year.
It was a
Um,
dynasty. It was a dynasty that really only had one dynastic player left. You. I mean,
yeah,
Fitzpatrick becomes great, but not yet.
and he did the best he could, but still at the end of the day, it was I ended up I went and played junior college for 2 years at Florida College, and that was where I went there for 2 years on scholarship. I was there. I ended up getting their record over there for their all-time leading scorer. I was a two-time All-American. I played after that. I played in Japan on the USA All-American team. I played after that at 2 years for University of Tampa, and then I went over and played in Belgium. I did one long season, guys. You know, you were looking at about 22 games was about all I got. It wasn't much. It was just enough to say I played on that level. But if you look at, like, right now, you Google my name, it'll come up and it'll blank it out. It'll be like Eli Piazza, whatever. I got to pay money to put my stats on that website. By all grounds, I stake claim to, I did collect a check for putting the ball in the hole, but it wasn't for a long period of time, and I'll admit to that. But there ain't too many guys that got to that point.
Absolutely.
And it was a struggle, and it was I slept in the lost and found. I sat in that gym. I don't when it comes to everyone picking their teams and their this and their that, I take that stuff personally. I think, to me, Bayshore basketball, there were 5 hoops in that gym. And for me, that represented the 5 members of my family. They all had a name. It was, I lived in that gym, and to be able to, I wish I'd have been able to make a bunch of money.
You broke one of those gyms, one of those backboards, didn't you?
I broke it twice. Well, the worst one, I broke one once when it was just on a Saturday when no one was there. It was like me, Tommy, Kristen Sanders, Philip Brooks, and Jared were all in there just playing one day, and I just, I'm just dunking, and I broke it. And it was like, Tom Bush came in there, swept it up, no big deal. And then I broke another one, which was embarrassing. It was at the fundraiser. You know what I mean? So you show up to a fundraiser,
right.
And you bust the rim, and that's, no one was shaking my hand when I was walking out the door.
They still have not replaced that rim. It's put up. They still haven't replaced it. Just so you know.
Hey,
I think they're waiting.
On Facebook, Diane Page, which I think is Diane Brooks,
yes,
is saying you cut your hand and wouldn't go to the hospital. Is that what happened when you broke the backboard? You cut your hand and
no health insurance. What are you talking about? We didn't have no health. If it wasn't for Steve Glitman, I would have had no health insurance. I went to that guy with a fever and got antibiotics. I'm not joking around with you.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Steve Glitman, he
Yeah.
died. Yeah. But he when my father was going through chemo, and Steve Glitman, I called him, and he arranged it to have a bunch of bedside equipment, which I don't know if any of you guys got to deal with hospice or anything like that yet, but that's a big deal. And he signed off on a bunch of stuff that I was able to show up, say his name, and I got, the trapeze, a bunch of bedside stuff that my father would have been on a waiting list for, but Steve provided that expeditedly, and Steve helped us a lot.
Yeah, Steve Glickman, longtime trainer for the program, was a man of God, and a great man in how he served all of the kids that came through that program. And as you're describing, not just the kids on the basketball court, he's helping family and friends all the time. So a man with a heart of gold. So you're exactly right. So I wanted to ask you also about University of Tampa. You played overseas. There was something I wanted to ask and it slipped my mind. Old age.
Oh, hey, don't skip to mention I was part of the University of Tampa's best record to date.
Which one was,
Oh, wow.
what year was that? What year? What year was it?
2001, best record to date. We got all the way to the Final Four. We got the bet. We only lost 2 games that year.
And Richard Smith's been the longtime coach
Yes.
at UT, so that's really cool. And
Which Richard Smith, after my dad died, he moved Jared in to my dorm.
Yep.
Did
I
you
lived
pay
at
to go
UT.
to UT?
that's really great.
Steve,
I
you
didn't-
know what it costs to live in a dorm at UT, right?
Oh no, I know.
Yeah. Jared was up there at 18 years old talking about, that's my spot.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah, Schmidt was a great guy.
Yeah.
Richard Schmidt was a great guy. So
You got a really good education there as well.
yeah. Chris, what do you got? Any last questions before we give them a chance to give their shout outs and their wrap up?
I did want Elijah to mention, when you were at UT during the playoffs, didn't you hold a distinction? If, as I recall at the time, weren't you like the MVP, the only 6th man in the history of the NCAA to be the MVP of the regional tournament or something like that?
Funny you mentioned that. Yes, sir. I am the only guy in the history of the NCAA to hold the record to win the most valuable player in a tournament that didn't start a game.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Wow.
I still hold that record. And we kick butt. I wish nothing more, guys. You and Steve, I wish I could have put you guys in my pocket when I was in that phase, because you have no idea, Steve. Your motivation, like when I first started out at Bayshore, I had Kevin Noriega was my first coach in the 6th grade. Mike Blocker was the assistant coach. Which happy birthday, Mike Blocker. Hey, did we all sing happy birthday, Mike Blocker?
No, but you can keep going, tell the story.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
You're gonna do the whole
birthday
thing,
to you. We were not going to give it to him, huh?
Happy birthday, dear Mike. Happy
Mike,
birthday
I'm trying
to
to give
you.
you a shout out. But anyway,
Birthday, second blocker.
We all like Mike. I mean, he's our friend. Happy birthday, Mike. We
Happy
just didn't want to
birthday,
hear us singing, I don't think, but go ahead, tell the story.
that was the story. I was telling you it was his birthday.
No, we were talking. Okay. I want to ask you about University of Tampa. You had one of my players on there to show around campus one weekend, and they were so bad. You said, Steve, never, we're not going to mention any names, but Steve, don't ever bring them around me again. They were so bad in terms of their behavior. I mean, those University of Tampa teams and your time there were really good times. Y'all were a great basketball team in Division II at that time.
We really were. I mean, if you look in the UT, Facebook kind of pages like we have now, we're still revered as one of the best teams ever. We're kind of looked at. They did this whole compilation between us and having the Last Dance kind of squad. We had a great team put together, and when we were beaten, it was actually by Kentucky Wesleyan, which had 3 professional Canadian players on their team.
Yeah.
When we lost, so we always kind of feel like we got a ring stolen from us. But we, that UT team, out of of our top 7, 6 of us actually played somewhere else. So that was a great team to be part of. That's why you put so many different things in perspective. Like you guys last week, I liked how Tree just sat there and smiled. But the rest of the guys were talking about we were deep in the bench if Andrick stayed. Come on. You gotta be out of your mind. If Andrick stayed, there would have been none of that. There would have been no deep bench if Andrick stayed. If Andrick stayed, he'd have been running the floor with a 6'8", 6'9" Tree and a 6'7" Toby and a John on the wing. There'd have been no deep bench, but
I see what you're saying. You think it'd be they wouldn't go deep into the bench. There'd only be like probably a 6-man rotation at best. Right.
They wouldn't have needed it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How you gonna? You can't disrespect. I mean, I know we all didn't like Andrew didn't graduate, but I mean, come on, you gotta give him respect. If Andrick would have stayed, that'd have been a whole different team.
Oh,
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I think he gets his respect. There's no doubt about that. He gets his respect.
Yeah.
We
But-
talk about the fact that had he stayed, they'd have won a state title. So that's for sure. So,
Yeah, but you,
or
but,
could have come closer.
but you said if they'd have stayed, well, if he'd have stayed, that we'd have had a deep bench, and those other guys would have been taking stats with Maniscalco and everybody else if Andrick would have stayed that year, and that would have been the year that I would say had the best chance. But same hand, the team Jared was on, you ask any of those boys that lost in 94, 95, 96 to Malone, what did they lose to? They lost to a short team that outpicked them and outshot them.
Yeah.
That's what Jared's team was, that only lost a couple games in Dibble's era, and I give my bet or my vote to those guys. Because if you ask any of those boys that got their butts kicked by Malone in 5, 6, what'd they get beat by? They got by a bunch of short
94,
sawed-off
95.
guys setting screens and shooting threes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 94,
No, am I
95.
talking
That's
too
correct.
fast?
What's that?
I'm not hearing anything. I just hear myself
I don't know if we have a
talking.
good connection.
We're
No
good.
problem.
You're
No
good.
problem. We're going to turn to Chris. You got anything to wrap up, and then we'll ask Jared to give his shout outs, and then Elijah's.
Well, I just want to say this has been a real privilege in my life to know both of these gentlemen and their father. Actually, all three of you gentlemen, honestly. I mean, Steve and I go way back, and then I was fortunate enough to be there to see Elijah in his prime, his high school years, and to see Jared beginning his career. I had the privilege to coach Jared. He would be his first basketball coach that he ever had, and I hold that dear to my heart. I had the privilege to be there also at the end for Jared, his final senior year. Trying to get through this without crying, but anyway, it was a privilege to be there for him. Those were very, very hard times for this family. Going back and forth between watching Elijah play over college, and then Jared coming in after basically having not really played basketball at all between his junior and senior year, showing up to school late and just coming out there and giving all he had to a team that, honestly was not the greatest talent-wise, but man, I tell you, they had huge hearts. And if they had one big man on that team, they probably would have gone a long way. They'd had a couple of guys transfer out the year before. Had they come back, probably would have made a good run at the Final Four. But just a real privilege for me to know these guys and to continue my friendship and relationship with them over all these years. It's something I've always cherished, and I cherish it today as much as ever. And thank you all of you for being a part of my life. I sincerely appreciate it and cherish it.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Chris.
That was really nice, Chris. And I started laughing, but I shouldn't, because that period of time was really tough. And it's such a testament to Jared and Elijah, the things that they have gone through and come out on the other end, because losing family members are always so difficult. Jared, your shout outs, your final thoughts, and then we'll turn it to Elijah.
Starting with Gigi Erickson to Donna Brooks. Both of those women took me under their wing multiple times. I can't even begin to thank Diane for being pretty much a sister / mother / just a voice of reason sometimes throughout all those dark times of my life. Coach Drury for being a role model, always to me as the number one person I looked up to for years. That guy really did it for me. Mr. Pate, really being there for me again, like he said, even beginning of my career, end of my career, and present day. Amazing. Mr. Dibble for being again another person there for me, more behind the scenes. The guy never wants any recognition, but he really always made sure I had a couple of dollars in my pocket to get some food or just to make sure I was okay. He would check in on me. And thank you to my brother for being always the good brother to me. and I wouldn't be who I am today without him in my life. Absolutely. Thank you.
That's really great, Jared. Thank you. And we can't wait to have you back as well to talk about your career further.
Absolutely.
All great thoughts, and we can't thank you enough for coming on with us. The Piazza family means so much to Bayshore Christian. It is part of the lineage of Bayshore Christian. So we'll turn now to Elijah Piazza, 96 to 98, part of the end of an era, his own era. Elijah, a few shout outs and what's your closing thoughts tonight?
Well, I want to start with thanking you, Steve. I don't know if you talk about that hard period. You do remember you expedited putting a plaque on the wall just so my father would see it. You did that. You know what I'm talking about. You know,
Yeah.
you knew it was sooner than it should have been, and you pushed that. And I remember me even asking you, like, hey, what, like, you know, and you were like, just shut up, dummy, you know. And I appreciate you doing that, Steve. And I really, you know, what you're doing even now, you know, at least giving everybody a spoken word. I'm a father too, just like you, and I know the amount of time you got to invest in this, and I really appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you had a major influence on the way I played the game. Believe it or not, you know, you playing being there every Tuesday and Thursday night for open gym up until you broke your leg, you know, because you didn't give up the baseline. You know, right there right in front of the water fountain. I remember, you know, it was, you know, I was there, and it was that dedication. It was that motive. That was you gave me a mindset, and Pate, you helped me feel like I was part of something. You know, you sit there and you think, well, I'm just being a fan and whatever. In my life at that time, you helped me feel like I was being part of something. And I appreciate that from you, my man, and everything you guys are doing. I know you can't keep doing this forever, Steve. I know you gotta move on with life, and this isn't, you know, going to keep going on. But I really appreciate you guys doing this podcast, because there are things that happen at Bayshore that didn't happen everywhere else. You know, there wasn't that spontaneous basketball game. You know, pick up 21 between break time and third period. You know how many guys went to class with uniform pants on with no crotch in them because they were trying to play basketball. You know, that's what we did. You know, that was what made it different. And it was the teachers. You know, and, you know, I brought this up earlier, but it was the teachers. You know, my father started at Bayshore at $13,000 a year. It's no money. You know, and it's not just him. A lot of teachers. And it's not only just no money, they had no benefits. You know, they made sacrifices. And we got to acknowledge that, because the people that are teaching that want to be there, those are special people. Whether it was Miss Lopez, Miss Way, you know, Miss Hartman, Mr. Ross, there's just a ton, Mr. Hill, there was a ton of teachers that influenced us from beginning to end. That, I mean, Miss Lamb. Do you remember Miss Lamb? That was one of the most blessed women I ever came across. You know, and Bayshore was just saturated with that, and that's what's important to me. And I know I'm getting this thing where I'm looking at all you guys, and I'm talking too long. But no,
No,
if I had to close out, I would close out and saying Bayshore's got something special, or we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. And I'm just happy to be part of it.
Absolutely.
man, I can't thank you enough for those kind words. And I know Chris feels the same way. So thank you, Elijah and Jared, for all those kind words. And you're exactly right. Bayshore has something special. There's something unique about it. So you hit it right on the head. We say it all the time, and it's just so true. And every time people come on here, they have their own unique story, and it all still points back to this brotherhood, sisterhood, family connection that goes back decades. So can't thank you guys enough for joining us tonight. It's been
Thank
one of
you.
those special shows, Chris Pate, hasn't it? I mean, it's been sort of crazy and wild, hasn't it?
Did we go over an hour?
Yeah, we're at an hour and a half.
Oh,
I don't think we even covered everything.
I actually made notes and we didn't even start talking about it. I was like,
Yeah.
I had notes I was gonna talk about. That's like Jared was like, let's get topics. Steve didn't even respond. He's like, we're not talking topics.
We never do topics. We just sort of wing it.
Hey,
We just sort of wing it.
it worked.
Yeah. Well, guys,
worked.
hey, everybody, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you, Jared, again real soon. We got a couple of great episodes coming up in the near future. We got the 2001 Final 14 coming up. Can't wait to get those guys on. And then also we have Steve and I's top 25 all-time players. So that'd be coming up probably somewhere in the summer, late summer. And then, you know, got a lot of other stuff coming up as well that we're going to hit on.
I think Elijah might be on that list, right? Maybe. I think maybe.
Man, it's going to be a close one. Huh?
If not, I want to talk to somebody. I can know who.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure he made the
Steve, I'm
list.
trying to get us out of here, man. You just stirred the pot over there.
I'm pretty sure he made the list. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know, man. It's too close. We'll see. But anyway, hey,
Thank-
thanks a lot,
thank you, guys.
And,
Thank
thanks
you.
everybody.
Very
Anything
nice.
else? Yeah.
We're good.
Watch Bayshore tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, 7
Go
o'clock.
Bayshore.
Go
See
Bayshore.
ya.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, be safe.